Hello everyone, welcome to today's BES4 tutorial where I'm going to show you how I made this really cute bunny. What we're going to do is bring in a picture that we're going to use to trace with. So I'm going to go over here so I can do that. We're going to use this backdrop tool up here. I'm going to say load backdrop. Then you're going to go onto your computer and find where you've saved your file, and this is the image we're going to use, and then we're going to open that up, and now we have that on our desktop here. The next thing we're going to do then is go over to our tools panel up at the top and get this line tool here. Click on that line tool, and then you're going to want to look at your design and figure out what shapes in what order you might want to do them. You can see that these ears here fall behind the bunny's shape, and the hands and the feet, one foot falls in front and one foot falls in behind. If you do them out of order, that's okay, because in our layers panel over here, we can reorder the order in which those designs will be stitching out. I believe on the bunny that I did, I might have this leg in front actually. So what you do then with this line tool is you are going to left click with your mouse and you'll make a little mark here. And then you're going to keep doing that. And I'm going to go up here. We're going to enlarge this. That way you can see your workspace a little bit better. And then I'm going to click over to here. And the reason I'm clicking below here is because when we're doing an applique, we're going to have fabric, overlapping fabric, and I want to make sure that the bunny's body is actually going to overlap the ear up here. And then I'm going to just follow this shape here and go every so often and left click and continue to make these little dots. And after a while, you'll kind of get a feel for how far apart to make them. But we can also go back and make adjustments to what we're doing here. Now, when I get to here, I'm going to go up to the tools panel and I'm going to tell it to close the shape. So now all of that is finished right there. Okay, I'm going to select my arrow here, and it's got all of this shape selected. Now we're going to select the edit shape tool, and then I'm going to left click on my mouse off the shape a little bit here and select multiple dots that I created, and then I'm going to right click and then we're going to select smooth, and you see how then it just altered and smoothed that out so they're not all as rigid and straight. And if you like your shape as it is, then you just go to the next step. If you want to make some edits, you can edit it at this point because we're still in the edit shape tool. So say I want to move this one a little bit. I can select this one and I can maybe move it out just a little bit. And if there's any others I think I want to reshape, I can bring them around to where I want, and then I can select these again and right click and say smooth so that we make sure that it's, altered the shape to fit. And then if we're happy with it, we'll move on to the next one. So let's go up here. Now on mine, I just took and created this ear here and duplicated it, and so I've got my ears different. I can do them as is, but I made mine different. So now I'm going to go get another line tool up here, and let's do the part that's the pink part on the inside. And we'll start right in here and then just follow this particular shape here all the way around. Just keep clicking with your left mouse button. Come down here, and then we're going to select close shape. Select my arrow. Now I'm going to make this one here a different color than the other one was, so it puts on a different line. So now I can close this one off so you can't see it, so I can edit this one without accidentally editing the other one. So we're going to select Edit Shape Tool. Again, I'm going to come up a little ways, left click, drag, select all of these, right click, and select Smooth. And then I can turn this one back on, and then you can see there's two lines that I've drawn here. So now I'm going to go up here to Home, select to make this a little bit smaller, and go back to the Tools panel, select my line tool, and then I'm going to start down here at the bottom for the bunny's body and just draw around on the outside like I've been doing. Again, we're using the left side of the mouse and click and just follow the shape around. So you can get, you know, any kind of a picture that you like off the internet that inspires you and draw out your own designs. Because I cannot draw freehand very well, but I can kind of use something to trace by. And now we're going to close our shape, and then I'm going to get this. Now I would say though, if you get something off the Edit Shape Tool here off the internet, that even if you're copying it, take some time with something to do some things to make it your own, so that you aren't doing a complete copy of somebody else's design. You know, you do want to try and personalize some of it as well. Okay, so now I've got that part of the bunny. I'm gonna get the line tool, and we're just going to keep going around layer after layer of the shapes and draw them out till we have all of the pieces done. So bear with me here. This is going to take just a little bit of time to do. And then select this Edit Shape Tool, and I like to edit mine as I go along, and I also try to remember give them each their own color so that it makes it easier for you to edit the different pieces. I'm going to go back to this one now and grab all of that, right click and tell it to smooth it out. Now if you've grabbed a spot that happens to be a point, you can say, if I want this to be straight and not curved, I can hit line and it's going to make it a straight line instead of a curved line. I want that one smooth, so I'm going to go back and change it. And then again, look at this. You know, do you want to reshape anything? This is the time you can go ahead and reshape stuff. And I don't know if you can see it clearly on this screen here, but when you do this, you're going to have these Bezier handles that you can maneuver and also reshape your design depending on maybe how wide of an angle or something you might want something to be. You can change those handles to make further edits to your shape as well. Oh, I added a point. Okay, I accidentally added another point. So I'm going to go over here, right click and hit delete point. And then click this one again. So I want to edit that over there a little bit. And then tell again to smooth so it rounds that out for me. Okay, we're going to go back up here, get the line tool again, and just trace this one. And the more often you do this, the faster you will get with doing this. The first few times I did this, it did take me a while. I may have had to start over a few times, and that was quite all right. You know, better, you know, and it just gave me more practice when I had to start over a few more times. Oh, I didn't go far enough. You want to select all of this. So be patient with yourself. You know, don't try it and then the first time it doesn't work out and give up. Don't do that. Just keep being patient with yourself and keep working at it. Okay, so I'm going to move down here to this foot. And you can see this one has a few little shapes to it. You can start out with something that maybe doesn't have as many pieces for your first project. Okay, now because this has got a tight curve here, I'm going to put these a little bit closer because I want to make sure it's going to go around that tight curve. And then we're going to close the shape. Get my arrow here, edit shape tool. We're going to grab everything again and right click and smooth. And that's looking pretty good. For the purpose of this, I am not going to get into trying to manipulate and get super perfect. I want to get through this so that and I can show you the next steps of how you edit this. So let's get this finished up around here. Close shape, and you can see I brought this inside of the body because I want the fabric to be overlapped some so that that foot fabric is underneath the body and is gonna just be secured in there. And okay, so now we've got all of our layers here. Let's go ahead and give some of these another color. And it doesn't matter what colors you use, okay? It just as long as they've got different colors because we're going to be starting to work on different parts now. Okay, so with the ear, let's start up here. We'll turn these back on so we can see them. With this now, well, before we do anything, we're going to go up here and we're going to save as, okay? Find where you're going to save your project and give it a name. So I'm going to do bunny video for this. And we're going to save it as a BRF. This is absolutely important because this makes your file completely editable. If you overwrite your BRF file, it will no longer be editable. So we want to keep one that is an editable file. Okay, so now we're going to save it again. Well, we'll just leave this for right now because we have to first convert to appliqué. Then we're going to do some saving of different things. Now you can see here, there's a satin stitch that automatically comes up here. And I don't want it to be a satin stitch. I want to change mine to a blanket stitch. So I'm going to select this. And at this point, we can make some other changes here. Let's just select apply for right now. And if you can see here, let's change that to a dark color. If you can see here, these lines are pretty far apart. Let's make it so you can see better. We're going to go to this background tool here, and we're going to say show background. It's going to hide it for us, so it makes it easier now to see what we're doing here for our applique. Okay, I want this applique to be a bit closer together, so it's going to really, for me, like protect my stitches better. So we're going to have our width, and we can change that width. So let's change it to a 4, and or actually the density. Well, the width is going to make them longer, and I may or may not want them longer, but I'm going to leave those alone. It's the density. We're going to change that to a 4, and I think went in reverse. Okay, let's change it to a 2 and see what happens. Okay, the smaller number makes it more dense. So you can see how they're a little closer. If you think those stitches might be too long for you, you can go up here and say change it to a 3 and select apply. And then the stitches aren't quite as long. So those are things that you play with in here. And now for the inside ear part, I didn't want to do any a blanket stitch there. I want to do a different stitch, but we got to go here to the tools, and we're going to convert this to applique. But what I did with this one is I selected a run stitch, and then you've got choices here of a single run, a double run, and a bean stitch. I really like the bean stitch because what it does is it goes forward and backwards and forward and backwards and forward and backwards. So it gives just a nice definition and reinforcement to hold that fabric in place. And we're going to select apply. Now at this point, because they're an applique now, I can go up here to home. I can select 3D draw. See, the artwork is not going to show, but the applique will show up here. We can go back to edit shape tool. So you can see maybe those are going to impede on this a little bit. So I can maybe go ahead and let's select a few of these dots, and I'm going to maneuver them around a little bit here, and then select smooth. And then when I click off, you can see how all of that moved a little. So at this point, if I want to, I can just keep playing around with these, because maybe I want so that blanket stitch to show up better. And then see, so you can play around with your stitches up to the point of them being an applique. So now let's select this bunny's body, convert to applique. If you want to leave it as a satin stitch here, you can. Oops, I went too far off the screen, sorry. Let's go back to where we were. Okay, select this button up here, and it'll put it right back in the center of the screen so you can see it. Okay, satin stitches are great. If you can also do, it's kind of fun, is what's a motif stitch. And then the software has a lot of different motifs here that you can choose from to even use. So if I can select this one and select apply, and it would do this type of a stitch all the way around. I did something with a Valentine project one time where I used it may have been this stitch or something similar for around the heart. It was absolutely gorgeous. May not be the appropriate stitch for this particular project, but these motifs can really add a nice element to an applique design if you want to. I'm going to make this one a blanket stitch and select apply. And again, you can change your densities and things. So let's make this a 2 and this a 3 and select apply. And you can see instant changes to it. And we weren't going to just, let's, oh, turn that on. Okay, so just continue to make all of those changes. And you want to be consistent with the numbers that you have here, so that your whole design is going to be consistent. There may be a time, maybe something, you know, because of the design, you might want a particular portion of it different, and that is quite all right. You just have to, you know, look at your design and make the proper choices for where you want something maybe the same or something to be different. But you can see how easy this is to just go in here and make these into an applique from just starting out with a simple little drawing. Okay, we're almost done with this part. And okay, so here we've got all of these different pieces now. And we've got this bar down here at the bottom. If you use this and drag this across, it's going to like show you the order in which it is going to stitch everything that you've just created. Is that just not cool? Okay, so now we can start adding some other shapes to it. So let's go back to here. What we're gonna do is create our whiskers and our mouth. So let's zoom in a little bit so that you can see what I did here. Okay, so what I wanted to do here is with my line tool, because I know the nose is going to cover up where I'm going to start and stop. So I went ahead and started from up in here, and I went ahead and made all of this one piece. So kind of think in advance of how you might want to draw it out. So I'm going to start up here and then go up to here and then right back onto this one and then over to the end here. And you can see how we might have to add some dots or things to reshape stuff. And I'm going to go back up here. Yeah, we're going to have to add something to reshape, because you can see that's not exactly straight as I might want it to be. And it might look good after it's all finished. Let's draw one over here. All right, there. See how that'll make that straight there. Okay, then we're going to go over here to create the mouthpiece. I'm going to come down here. You can go around. Now I can stop it right here and then start again to draw this one, or I can stitch right over top of it again. I wanted to stitch right over top of it again because I wanted to be a bit more dense when it did the stitching. So I went ahead and went right back on top of it. But if you do that, you're going to need to make some corrections. We're going to go to the Edit Shape tool, and we're going to really zoom in on here. So we're going to go to the Home, and we're going to select this magnifying glass, okay? And I'm going to zoom in on here. And you're going to see where some of these dots don't exactly go right on top of one another. So we can go to the Edit Shape tool, and then I can take one of these dots and line it up better. On your screen, when it isn't zoomed in as much, they'll look like they're lined up. But when you get in here and you zoom it in detail, you'll see that they're not perfectly lined up. And you're going to want to take the time to perfectly line them up, because if you don't, when it stitches, it's not going to look like one line of stitching. It's going to look like multiple lines of stitching. So it doesn't take much effort to do that. Now this, I made that mouth come out a little too far, so I'm going to bring that in over here. And we're going to go up here. And this is where we can make some adjustments also for those whiskers. Like this one here, I want that to be adjusted a little. So I'm going to right click right here and say add point. And then I can just bring this down some. But I'll have to also, on the next line, add point. Because remember, we went one direction and came back another direction. So I can line those two up so that they're right on top of one another. So it'll be this stitching in the same place. I think I want to move both of those together up a little bit. There we go. And this one here, if I want, I can also do another add point and move that over a little bit. And here, add point, and bring this one over on top of that. So when it stitches, they line up. I can see here on my screen, I don't know if you can see it, was off a little bit. So I'm going to move those two together to line them up. And then just look around on your screen while you've got it zoomed in. And that's looking pretty good. So we can go back here and make that smaller again. Okay, now for my nose and my eye, because this I have just the basic, you really can't do what they would call digitizing, but we've got some fun stuff already built in. We can go here and say add design, and you've got applique shapes built in here. But also, there are various shapes and different things with the applique and other things that you could utilize. So I can go through here and look at ovals and circles and things and think, oh, what could I use? See, there's like, that looks like a little eye. So why don't we click this, and then we're going to select over here. And I'm going to watch how big that gets and go, okay, the eye on that fish now looks like about the size that I want for my bunny. So I'm going to select this. You see here in this layers panel, I don't need this body. I don't need these little pieces here. I just want this piece for an eye. So I can now take that, bring it down here, and I'm going to turn that just a little bit. And voila, I've got myself a quick eye. Okay, so then we can copy that over here, but I want something a little more oval shaped here. So we're going to go add design and look for something else that might be a little more of an oval shape that I could use. So think outside the box of the different shapes that there might be. That might be a little more oval shaped. Let's see here. Shape that around. That might work. Oh, okay. That's interesting the way that was one. See, I couldn't see it before. There's a satin stitch over top of another stitch. Let's see what this looks like when I take this apart. Let's see here. Get rid of that. Now this. Okay, this looks like it's this piece here. So you can start taking pieces apart here. Okay, so I can use that for my nose if I want to right there. And then these other pieces, I can select them and delete them. And let's play with some colors. And let's make that a light pink. And I think that looks pretty cute. Now, if it's too big for you, okay, we got this little one here I don't need. Okay, if it's too big, you can select it and then right click on your mouse and say power copy. And then left click and drag it across to a size you think you might like, and then release the mouse And now you've got a new one here. So let's take this one and move it out of the way. And this is the one we did with the power copy feature, and I can put that here. And if I like that one, then that'd be the one I'd save, okay? So those are things that you can choose to play with. I'm just going to put this off to the side for now. So I utilize these add designs things in here, and there's also more. You've got accents, you got all kinds of different things here. These little swirly things for the balloons make for some nice little add-ons sometimes for flower stems. Okay, so let's see here. Let's shrink this up a little bit. And where are we now? Okay, so now, okay, we've got all of the outlines of the bunny pretty much done. What we're going to do now is we're going to go up to where the ears are and select those pieces. And we're going to copy them and paste them so that we can make the other ear. So I've got them selected here. And then we're going to copy. So I'm right clicking on my mouse and then say paste, and it's going to paste it down here at the bottom. But I can grab it over here and kind of move it. Okay, what we're going to do now then too is we're going to flip them around. So we're going to go to this arrange, and we're going to rotate it. We're going to tell it to rotate it at a left of 90, and we're going to flip it horizontally here. Okay, and then I can go up here where this little dot is. It's a circle, and it allows me to rotate it at any angle I want. So now at this point you can just play around with, you know, the angles of the ears, and we can go select the first original ones here and rotate those around a little bit as well. So play with those ears until you get them at a position that you like. I think I'm going to get these down here. Move those just a little. And we're going to want to take this and grab these with your left mouse, click on that, and then you can drag this up. So now I've got them positioned here. So when they stitch out, they'll stitch out before the body that we designed. So we've got that much there done. So we can go over here to our backdrop tool, and we can close that one part off, and now we can see here what we've got. I think, okay, the whiskers and the mouth are still artwork, so we need to do something with that so that it'll stitch, because as right now it's not going to stitch to anything. So go over to our tools, we're going to do the convert to applique, and then I'm going to do a run stitch, and you can choose like a single or a double or a bean. I think I'm just going to maybe do the single run because I already have it going back once and twice, and then select apply. And now because it's an applique, it's going to go over it like 1, 2, 3 times. We don't need it to do it that many times. So we can then, what I would do at this point is I'm going to save this. And the applique stitches and everything are still editable, but I don't want to overdo the BRF that I've done. So we're going to save this. We'll save it as bunny video. I'm going to put applique, because then I'll know it's still editable. And I'm going to go ahead and do that as a PES and say save, because I can still edit this. But once I take this stitching here for the whiskers and the mouth, I need to convert that to stitches. So I'm going to select this, right click with my mouse and tell it to preserve as stitches. And now it's going to have 3 separate pieces here so that I can then eliminate the ones I don't need. So I'm going to close this off so you can see what it leaves behind. So see, it leaves this behind here. So when I go over here on my slider, let's just run that through and see what it's going to do for stitching. Okay, so here it comes. It's going to go up and do these pieces here. So if you're happy with the way that is, then you know that's the one that you want to keep here, because this green one here at the bottom, if I close off the other pieces, you can see it's only going to do that little portion of the mouth. So this piece isn't what we want to keep. So I can select this and delete that. Select this one and see the way it does this. Let's zoom in here. See the way it's got like double rows, and that's not what we want. If I shut this off and turn this on, see, we have the single rows there. So this one here, we're going to delete that also, and now we're left with just that one. But it's going to show here stitches, so we can no longer edit this. But what we're going to do now is save this one. So instead of appliqué, let's just put final, and then save that one as a PES. So if I ever needed to edit this here, I can go back to the one that said the appliqué one and still edit these pieces, or I can also in my BRF file still edit these. So I may have multiples of the design, but they're done at various stages so that I have the capability of going back and making changes if necessary. So now I'm going to show you what I did for adding some of the flowers in. I used this particular flower design that I had and this particular flower design that I had. And I took and deleted on this one here, this flower image here, and added in from a different flower something there. So if we look here, you can see this blue piece here. So I'm just going to select that, right click on my mouse and say delete, because I don't want that piece. And then there's this blue section here. I'm going to delete that. But now we've got this black line part still remaining. So what we need to do is run the slider at the bottom until we get to that part. Okay, you can see it's coming up here there. Okay, so we're going to back up a little bit here. And then at the very bottom left, you can do one stitch at a time. So I'm going to go back to one stitch at a time here, and then when I get it right in here, I'm going to hit this stop button 2 times, and then it is going to break that portion up for me. Sometimes you can see it real well here, sometimes not, but I should be able to. Let's ungroup this if it will let me. Is it ungroup? There's a way to grab that. Let's see here. Okay, it goes up and back again, so we need to then follow it through to the other side of it going up and back. Okay, and then hit the stop button again twice. So you have to kind of follow the lines around. Okay, now we look here. We've got that whole section. It shows it up over here. See, and I can bring that over there. So I've cut that section out. Now I'm going to just go ahead and delete that. I've got these two little leaves left behind. So I'm going to follow this green section in here and delete those. And luckily it's the first part to stitch. So we've gone past where we needed to. Just use just a little arrow. I know it takes a little time, but just be patient with it. And we're going to go back a few stitches. And I think right about there is good. And then hit the stop button a couple times. And if I look up here, you can see those leaves are now separate on their own. And I can go ahead and delete those. So now I'm left with this bottom portion here and the remaining flowers here. So we're going to go into this one, and what I did is I wanted this part here. So you can look and see here what we've got. Should be a way to ungroup this stuff. Well, so let's see. We've got this part here. What I'm going to do is take that and see how much of it is. Okay, so I know I want these little stems and to cut it off down here. So let's put that back in place by Control Z. And we'll use this slider, and we're right down at the bottom where I want it. We go back a couple stitches and hit the stop button. So it separated it from this line here now up here. I'm going to change that to a green color so it shows more like leaves. There we go. Okay, and you can see the purple flower part here is already separate, which makes it easy. And we're going to have to separate this blue part because it's the center of the flower and also over here. So we'll go along until we get to where that center of that flower is. Okay, gotta go back a few stitches and just follow that step by step. Okay, I went a little too far. All right, now I'll hit the stop button, and now I've got my center piece here separated. And then we need to finish up getting the remaining of the stem part. So we'll just keep pulling the slider across until it gets to where we want. And you can see right here. All right, go back a stitch or two at a time here. This way. Right, now we're going to hit the stop button a couple times here, and I should have that all pretty much separated. So I'm going to start deleting what I don't want so it's off of the screen. So we're going to delete that. I know I don't want that. And if you're not sure about what something might be, you can select it, and if you want, move it out of the way some and go, okay, I don't want those for sure, you know. So I'm going to delete those. And I know I don't want this. And if you wanted to, you can also just use the eyeball thing here and turn them off and on, just so you can see. Okay, and okay, this one I want to gonna play with that first. Okay, so that looks like I've separated that good. And all right, that looks good. Okay, I've got just a couple more lines on the bottom here that I know I don't want. So we're going to just slide this slider across here until we get to that spot. Hit our stop button again, and now I've separated this out. So now I can delete that, and I've got the pieces that I want here, except for that little extra purple bit. So let's find where that is. And back up. And stop button. There's that little block right there, and delete that. Now we have everything we want for our flower. So when it stitches out, we've got our leaf there and our flower here and our doodly work. Okay, so now we're going to take and select all of these, and now if I want, I can save this as a PES is just a single flower, so I have that in my folder with the rest of my designs. And I can also save the other one when I finish it, but I'm going to do Control C to copy, or I can select up in the corner here, copy, and then we're going to go to the other file and either right click or go up to the top and select paste. I missed part of it. Let's see, let's go back. Something didn't get selected. Let's try this again. Copy, go over here, and delete what I did before, and then paste. Now I've got everything. Okay, so now I can go ahead and place this in position where I want with the rest of the design. So that's how you can take a couple of different designs and combine different designs and make a new design. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save this. So I'm going to say save as, and let's just put new flower. And we're going to save that as a PES because it really isn't editable because it was already a PES file. But I can now select everything. We can go up here, we can say copy. We can go to our bunny, and now we can say paste. And now, obviously, that comes in a little bit too large. So I'm going to push this over to the side here, and then I'm going to have it all still selected and right click and say power copy, and kind of put my mouse over here, and with my left mouse button I'm going to press down and then drag across, and as it drags you can kind of see it's creating the design, kind of give you a little idea of what size it might be. And I'm going to release my mouse button, and then I can grab this all and bring it down to where I want it. You know, sometimes you get lucky. The first time it might be just the size you want. If it's not, that's okay. Just grab your original pieces and do the power copy again. You do not want to take your design and then just start taking this and stretching the shape, because if you see here now, it's really kind of distorted. If you're looking closely, let's bring this in here. It kind of distorts the stitches some. You can see the back ones in here aren't quite even. It is really beneficial to use that power copy feature in order to enlarge or decrease something. Also, you want to be careful how much you increase or decrease a shape, because if you decrease something too much, it gets too dense and it may not stitch well. If you increase it in size, making it larger, you can make it increase so much that it can have very sparse stitching. So you want to be careful when you're doing something like this. Okay, where are we at with what I had next? Okay, so the other thing I added was a butterfly, and you can go up here like we did before with our add design, And there are all kinds of different designs in here. So let's see, accents. You can, you know, just so we can move along here, I can grab that little butterfly and I can just pop that there. It's going to draw it out. And if I like that, position it where I want it. If I wanted it bigger or smaller, I would just start over again with it. But just so that we can finish this up, I'm going to put that there. Now on my original, I also did an outline all the way around my whole project. So we're going to go ahead and close off this flower stuff for now. And I'll show you how I did that. Close this stuff all up. I just wanted a little extra outline of quilting like look around my project when I made it. Let's see here, I got lots of pieces here to close off. Okay, so I went back to my tools and got my line tool. And I zoom in a little bit. And then I picked closer to the bottom, I think is where I started. And I went out from my bunny a little bit and then just traced around, trying to keep the same distance around the entire bunny. So we're just going to keep going all the way around here. I'm going to try and do this relatively quickly here. So this isn't something you need to do. It was just a little extra add-on that I did to make mine. And the more of these you do, the faster you'll get to tracing around your items. And this doesn't need to be precise right now because I went ahead and fine-tuned it. And I'm going to show you what I did to fine-tune that. So this can be done relatively quickly and not super precise, because I did want to make my shape much more precise in the end. And then we're going to say close shape. So then what I had done was went to add design, and I went ahead and got a applique shape, and I found like a little box or a rectangle, something like this. Okay, and say I see I'll put that right in there. And then we're going to go back to the tools. And we're going to say the edit the shape tool. I'm going to convert that to a run, and it can be a single run. And where it says here offset, I'm going to change that to a 0 and select apply. And let's zoom in some here so you can see what I've done now. So I've created like a block. And you can see here, it's going to tell you on the right side how big. So you can, from here, okay, you know, maybe I want it, this is not quite 1/4 of an inch. I think I might want this to be, I'm going to change it to 0.33. So that way it's a little bit more of a space. So then I'll select this block. Actually, just for the sake of this, I'm going to go back and make it the 0.25 so we don't have to edit everything. And then because it is an applique and I don't want it showing this many stitches, I'm going to say preserve as stitches and then just get rid of a couple of these colors. So I'm only dealing with one box as I'm going around here. So what I'm going to do now at this point is have this box here and go back to my tools, select this artwork for my bunny, and then say edit shape tool. So now what I'm going to do is all these little edit points, I'm going to move them. So I'm going to be selecting my box. Oops, Control Z, put my bunny back in shape. I can take this, let's make him black so he's on his own. I'm going to lock this so it doesn't keep moving. Oh, I can't lock it because then I can't edit it. I just have to be careful with my work. So I can take this here shape. You want to see that hand, and that means you can grab it and move it. And I'm going to follow along here, then go back to my artwork, edit shape tool, and then grab these dots and just move them over. This is going to be more time consuming, but it's one of those little things that adds a little extra. And then I can rotate this as well to follow the body a little nicer as I'm working with this. Edit shape tool, and then just keep maneuvering these around to where I like them. When I get that hand, then I know I can move it and continue to rotate that a little bit. My edit shape tool. So I'm going to keep doing this around the whole project until you have it completed. So when you get that all shaped out nicely like you like, and then you put all of your other elements back on. So that you can see your whole finished project. I'm sure there might be a way to turn all of them off and on at once. Somebody knows what it is, put it in the comments. And this original ones over here, we can go ahead and delete those because we don't need all of that now. And we're not, and you need this little extra piece here for that nose. So when you get everything the way you want it, you're going to maneuver the layers so it's stitched in the order you want. I know that I'm going to want that last outline of that bunny to be up here more, so it stitches that before it stitches all the flowers. But I'm going to have it stitch it after it's done the rest of the bunny. And then you can take that slider bar here at the end. Oh, we got to convert that artwork. I haven't finished it, I know, but for the sake of this, so we're not going on forever, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to make that a run, and then choose single, double, or bean. I just really like the bean stitch. I'm going to make this a 0 for the, and select apply. Now, when you have this, it's going to make that an applique, and we don't need it to stitch this 3 separate times like an applique would do. So this is where we would do is preserve as stitches. If you want to, you can take this bunny part here and copy it and paste it. So I would say maybe copy, open up a new tab up here and say paste. So that way this here, if you ever needed to, you could still edit it, because once I finalize it saying to preserve as stitches, I won't be able to edit it again. But I want for here, for this purpose, I do want to say preserve as stitches. Now I've got 3 separate lines, and then I can remove the ones that, you know, 2 of the layers, and then I'm left with just 1 of the layers to stitch around. So now when we take our slider, you can see the order in which it is going to stitch out our project. And there we go. And then I would then go ahead and save this as my final or my final, just so that way I've got this particular one that's all by itself and ready to be sent to my machine to stitch. I hope you all found this helpful and that you will try and make your own project. And using that backdrop tool and loading in a design really helps with being able to trace out something and then taking and changing it up and making it your own. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.